morning, everyone. We'll get started with Russ Schriefer here in just a second, but I would like to go over the ground rules first. Basically, this call is embargoed until it is complete, so no tweeting during the call. We'll have some opening remarks from Russ, and then we'll go to Q&A. And with that, Russ Schriefer.
Hey, thanks, Kyle, and thank you all for coming and listening into this call. We've been down in Tampa for a couple of weeks now and preparing for the convention, and I think we're putting together a good program for the 4 days. I've talked to a bunch of you individually about this. I thought it'd be good to just review what we hope to accomplish and what our overall messaging is for the week. As you know, the overall convention theme is a better future. And what I'm really looking at is sort of our sub-themes and how they will drive a message each day to form a complete message at the end of the week. At the beginning of the week on Monday, it's We Can Do Better, where we'll talk specifically, and our speakers will address the failures of the Obama administration over the past 4 years and focus on things that Governor Romney will do to make that better. So we'll have both speakers and some real people who have been affected by the Obama economy. On Tuesday, it's our theme is We Built It, and this gives us an opportunity to really frame up one of the big fundamental philosophical differences between President Obama and Governor Romney. President Obama, as you know in his statement on you didn't build that, showed that he was more believes that government has a bigger role in job creation. Governor Romney sees that completely differently. He believes in entrepreneurship, the individual, and smart people, people who work hard can succeed, create jobs, and do well. On the third night, it's We Can Change It, and that night we're going to specifically focus on some of the things that Governor Romney has said that he will do, mostly from his middle-class agenda. Our speakers will focus on them. And then the last night is We Believe in America, which is our opportunity to tell Governor Romney's story in a very complete way. We looked at telling all parts of the governor's story, and we think that by wrapping it up on Thursday night with that message, we can show that Governor Romney is uniquely qualified to take on the problems that this country is facing at this time. So with that, I'm being pointed out that I just wanted to point out also on Thursday, there's two things I wanted to point out specifically. One is that as part of telling Governor Romney's story, we will be having several people who he worked with through his church that he helped in different times of their lives. We'll have someone who followed Governor Romney as a leader in the church. We'll talk about what it was like to fill Governor Romney's shoes in that role. And then also that night we'll be having several Olympians address the convention. Right now we're up to about 15 or so Olympians. The three of them will speak. Kim Rode, who won the gold medal in 2012 for skeet shooting. Micah Ruzioni, who you all remember as a hockey player from the Miracle on Ice 1980 Olympic team, who lit the torch with the team in the 2002 Salt Lake Games. And Derek Parra, who was a member of the 2002 team and really got to know Governor Romney very well. The three of them will talk about different parts of Governor Romney's Olympic experience. And then the one more thing, too, and this might be part of your questioning, is that on Tuesday night, we look forward to showing a short film about Ron Paul. It's a short Ron Paul film that will be a tribute to Congressman Paul, where several of his colleagues will give testimony to his principles and his dedication to America. So with that, those are some of the highlights for today, and I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. At this time, we're ready to begin the question and answer session. If you'd like to ask a question, please press star 1, and you'll be announced prior to asking. To withdraw your question, press star 2. Once again, at this time, if you'd like to ask a question, please press star 1. One moment for the first question. Our first question does come from Andrea Mitchell of NBC. Your line is open.
Thanks so much for doing this, Russ. Can you clarify, what the Ron Paul video will represent and how the governor's team, you and the rest of the teams have been working with the Ron Paul folks, and how that will affect the schedule finally in terms of both what happens Monday and Tuesday in terms of Ann Romney's speech? Thank you.
Well, thanks, Andrea. And it was sort of several questions mixed into one, and so
right.
let me try to separate them out. The first one is concerning the Ron Paul video. Governor Romney and Congressman Paul, while they certainly disagree on many issues, they've always had, or have had, if you've watched you were part of the debates this year, have seen there's a lot of mutual respect between the two of them. And so Congressman Paul's people came to us and said they'd like to do a short tribute to him, and we said absolutely. It would be a good time to do that. So, and that will happen on Tuesday. As you also know, Senator Rand Paul is speaking on Monday night, and we look forward to his speech. So we feel that we're in a good place. We know that not everybody is going to agree with us all the time, but we know that as a Republican Party that we're going to unite and beat Barack Obama in November. Secondly, let me just address the role, some confusion that we've had about the roll call. Months ago, when we first started planning the convention and planning the program, we had always planned on having the roll call on Monday. And there was a reason for that. Mostly it was a transportation issue. As you know, Tampa, a lot of the hotels are very spread out. Normally there's a Monday morning session that goes from 9 or 10 to 1. There's a break, and then there's an evening session. We thought that it would be very hard to ask delegates to come to the morning session, go home, and literally spend maybe an hour to have to turn around and come back to Tampa for the evening session. So as a way to sort of bridge the gap there and make sort of a longer session, we decided to put the roll call there on Monday afternoon. It also gave us the opportunity to hopefully maximize some coverage with the, quote, over-the-top moment right about the time that the network newses will be going on at 6:30. So we intend to and hope to be able to go over at 11:44, around 6:35 or 6:40. This was announced on Monday. In terms of the planning of this, was announced on Monday in our app. And the Washington Post wrote about it on Wednesday. And so there was really no change here. Now, I will also mention one other thing. On Thursday, Governor Romney will come to Tampa, and he will accept the nomination. And at that time, he will be able to spend general election money. As you know, we've already been collecting general election money, but as far as the law is concerned, he'll accept the nomination, and we will be able to start spending general election money. And then the third question, in terms of the schedule, as of now, we're hoping and still optimistic that the networks are going to change their mind and cover Monday night. And I just want to be clear. We don't think that it's a problem, or we understand only covering 3 nights. But what we find puzzling is why everyone has to cover the same 3 nights, and that you're not covering. There's not one network at least covering Monday night, while the rest cover Tuesday and Wednesday and Thursday. So we believe at the end, you'll see the light of day.
And barring that, if there is still obviously this is way above my pay grade, but if there's still no network covering Monday night, would you then be moving Mrs. Romney's speech to another night?
Well, Andrea, I'm optimistic that the right thing will be done. Next question.
Our next question does come from Alex Leary of Tampa Bay Times. Your line is open.
Russ?
Yes. Hey, Alex.
So it sounds like you're at least open to moving it. That's the first question. Secondly, it looks like, is the design here to kind of pack some of the so-called negative stuff first so you can focus on more of the forward-looking positive things in the next few days? Is that how you kind of stack this?
What do you mean by the sort of the we can do better? Or?
Yeah, well, you talk about Monday was going to be, it sounded like that's going to be some of the harder hitting Obama stuff, and the days that follow will be more positive, forward looking on Romney's agenda.
I think that some of that, I mean, certainly there'll be a lot of positive looking forward Romney agenda, but I think really what we're looking at Monday is you need to lay down the predicate of and make the case of why President Obama has failed and why this administration has failed on many levels. So while I don't see this as being particularly harsh, I do believe that it is an opportunity for us to talk about the areas where the president hasn't lived up to his promises. And what we find all over the country is that people are very disappointed in the president, and that the expectations that were there 4 years ago he hasn't lived up to them.
Our next question does come from Michael Kranish of the Boston Globe. Your line is open.
Hey, Russ.
Michael?
Hey, my question is, there was a poll that came out this week from NBC Wall Street Journal, and according to that story, it said that this was the worst underwater situation of a modern Republican presidential candidate going into an election, 44% unfavorable, 38% favorable, according to that survey. What are you doing specifically to combat this issue?
Well, I think there's two things to that, Michael. One is that you also look at some polls that show that Governor Romney is seen as a far better steward on the economy than President Obama is. And, we think at the end of the day that people are going to be more concerned about their jobs and their livelihood and their ability to, make ends meet, and that's what this election is going to be about. That said, this convention is going to talk about Governor Romney and all aspects of his life and really highlight his leadership skills. And we think that both of those things, will help. If you look at on Wednesday night when we focus on our middle class agenda, more jobs, more take-home pay. These are the kitchen table issues that I think that people really care about.
Our next question does come from Jill Nato of Fox News Radio. Your line is open.
But my question's already been answered.
Thank you. Our next question does come from Ben German of the Hill newspaper. Your line is open.
Hi, good morning. I wanted to follow up a little bit on yesterday's, on Governor Romney's rollout of his energy platform yesterday, or some of his energy platform. To what extent is this going to be featured at the convention, either through speakers or other events? But mostly I'm wondering about speakers addressing it.
We will have several speakers talking about Governor Romney's energy plans. We believe that the energy independence, our ability for America to harness its own natural resources to help this economy is important. And there will be several speakers that will touch on this, particularly on Tuesday and on Wednesday.
Operator, we have time for one more question.
Thank you. Our next question does come from Sarah Boxer of CBS News. Your line is open.
Hey, Russ, it's Sarah. Thank you for doing the call. I'm just wondering about visuals inside the convention. Are there things that we can expect that are going to be different than the traditional convention? I was in the hall this morning and I noticed a bunch of black and white pictures of Governor Romney and his family. I'm just wondering, in terms of the stage itself, there have been sort of a few reports about different things that we might see that are sort of unique. I'm just kind of wondering what visuals will be unique that we should look out for.
Sure. Well, first of all, this if you haven't seen the podium yet, I encourage you to do so. There are 13 high-resolution LED screens, and it really looks like no other podium that you've ever seen. It's sort of this Frank Lloyd Wright inspired piece of architecture that we went for, and it's really stunning. Particularly then, added with the screens and the high resolution of them, I think you'll be all very surprised at that. And by having those screens, it gives us the opportunity to tell the story in a very different way. It allows us to use the screens to support speakers, to support them both with pictures and with information. It also allows us to incorporate social media into the convention, where during intermissions or sort of places where maybe the house band is playing, we can put up on the screens Facebook posts, Twitter posts. In addition, there's 2 ribbons that circle the stadium, the forum, and on both of those ribbons we have the opportunity to put Facebook and Twitter posts. And then in addition, there's a debt clock. And as most of you have covered Governor Romney, particularly during the primaries, will remember that we did events with the debt clock, and we thought it would be a good idea to bring it to the convention and to give us a stark reminder of how deep in debt this country is going and how we have to change direction. So I think we're going to when you come to the forum and see what we're going to do, I think you'll all be hopefully pleasantly surprised in what we're trying to accomplish.
Well, thank you, everyone. If you have any follow-up questions, you can reach out to me, Kyle Downey. The main press line here is 813-252-5888. Thanks again.